Watch how they compete.
Max Wolff, the idea that Alibaba is a competitor not just in China but in Russia, is this because they just serve as a middleman for those that want to buy and those that want to sell?
Well, also because they have a better logistics, better payment processing, a better way for various companies to export, particularly in a larger, more wholesale capacity, to the global audience. They have the internal payment structure, they have logistics, they have the brand name, and their model really is just to do everything but the expensive fulfillment and inventory hold. And so they can do that particularly in areas that might be on, let's say, fairly shaky ground with dominant OECD countries a la the CIS states and Russia.
Cory Johnson, you had a chance to go through the filing of Alibaba. What should investors be wary of?
Well, there's plenty to worry about. There's obviously the big China risk, right? What's legal today might not be legal tomorrow. What businesses they're allowed to be in or expand into may not be permitted later, and that might not be up to them. And there's the fact that, you've got one guy leading this company who holds enormous sway over it just by stake of his stake in the company. But add to that...
But that could be a good thing, too, right, Cory?
Yeah, you're all in with Jack Ma on this deal, and not least of which because investors aren't buying shares of the company. Pimm, you and I have talked about this many times. They're buying shares in something that's buying shares in something that has shares in a holding company. That they don't have the same kind of control they would if they bought shares in, say, a General Mills or a Berkshire Hathaway or a Yahoo.
Drew Bernstein, you want in on this right now. Go ahead.
Well, I think that is the allure of this deal. Jack Ma. On one hand, he is probably the most dynamic, resourceful CEOs in China. And on the other hand, he controls 100% of this through the VIE structure. So that becomes...
Should investors be scared of this VIE? Explain, if you can, quickly what the VIE structure is, that they actually end up owning shares in a company that gets a royalty from Alibaba.
Not quite, but this has been a big issue in China. And basically a VIE, a variable interest entity, is a method by which you own the economics of the transaction without owning the assets through management contracts. So on one hand, the beauty is you have somebody like Jack Ma who's a genius. He's created the largest company in the world that services, go across the board, a genius. And on the other hand, if Jack Ma decides at some time that he wants to void these contracts, what do?
Would that stop you from investing in Alibaba?
In this particular instance, probably no, because my understanding of it, it's really only about 12% of the VIE structure that's really in this. So I'd be less concerned about it. But this has been an issue that has little clarity from at least the Chinese side right now. So I would be concerned about it.
Leslie, you mentioned that Jack Ma here in New York at the Waldorf Astoria. Where does he go next if you haven't been able to catch the roadshow?
Now, that's the interesting thing, Pimm, is that sources are telling me he may not attend all of the big group lunches. That's something that he actually wasn't even sure he was going to attend today and then decided to make an appearance and show his face to New York investors. But it's unclear right now where he will be, if he'll be in Boston, if he'll be in Baltimore, if he'll be in Hong Kong, of course, near his home turf in Hangzhou. It's still kind of up in the air if he'll be making an appearance at all the stops.
Max Wolff, would you buy shares in this initial public offering if you could?
I would, but I would do so with some real caution. So I think the China risk, the VIE, is definitely part of it. I think the bigger part is that the U.S. has an increasingly poor relationship with the Chinese government. Look at Apple, et cetera, look at Google. And so the issue here is that if there's retaliatory back and forth, for today, Alibaba is a one-country play. Huge potential, does some things elsewhere, but 95% of what you're buying right now, all those numbers that get everyone excited on revenue and EBITDA, those are China numbers. And if there's problems in those relationships, and there have been for the likes of little pikers like Apple, then you might be on the wrong side of that complex ownership structure.